Now then, Vinyl Monkey here, still practicing the walk on. Hope it's getting better, but anyway, welcome. Yeah, Vinyl Monkey. I've finished with my series of 10 bests from all the years and from the late 60s through the 70s, and while I'm thinking of where to go next, I just spotted a couple of contests in the vinyl community, and where there's $40 or $50 or equivalent up for grabs. I think if you put an entry in, so I thought I'd have a go at a couple of those and just follow their guidelines, because it might reach some different sort of records, and yeah, it might be interesting. Anyway, first of all, an apology. Probably many of you find this difficult to believe, but I can be a right arse and say some right stupid things on occasions, many occasions actually, usually associated with a pint or three, and usually it doesn't matter one bit, but when you do it on these YouTube videos or social media, which I'm not on or anything, but if you do it on there, I suppose the crap you're talking is up on the internet forever. And not only is it up on the internet, but I have a friend who, when I do say anything stupid or dodgy, he decides to enshrine it on a t-shirt as well as having it up on the internet. So apologies, because a few weeks back, I think it was 77, I was talking about Iggy Pop's album, The Idiot, and I actually said, would you believe, the title of the album taken from Dostoevsky's novel, obviously. Well, what an intellectual, snobbish, crappy thing to say, so apologies for that. And so I now have to go around wearing this t-shirt as a penance for that until Colin can forgive me and I can move on to the next one. But anyway, here we go. So I'm following a guy called, I think he's called Chris, from over in the States somewhere. Rekkid Talk is his channel, and he set this little contest up, and his challenge, or his questions for the challenge, are to try and get this over pretty quickly. It's 5 things. So the first one is to show an African album, the second one is to show a 7-inch with a picture sleeve, the third one is to show a Beatles cover, the fourth one is some smooth jazz. He particularly said not hard bop. Most of my jazz collection's sort of hard bop or avant-garde, free jazz, whatever you want to call it, but he didn't want none of that stuff. He wants something smooth. And then lastly, a UHQR, ultra high quality recording from Analog Productions, or a MoFi one-step from Mobile Fidelity. So that's the challenge. So get straight on with it. The first of all is an African album. Well, I haven't got many African albums on vinyl. I've got a few on CD, but the one I'm going to show is Ali Farka Touré, The Source. Ali Farka Touré is from Mali, and he sort of blends. He's a guitarist. I think he's a multi-instrumentalist actually, but he's a guitarist essentially, and he blends traditional Malian music with sort of African American blues. I think he came across John Lee Hooker at one time when he'd left Africa with a band. The first time he ever left Africa, he heard John Lee Hooker, and he sort of got into that. And his stuff is yeah, some of it is a bit Hooker-esque, but there's a real African feel to it. This album is absolutely superb. He's regarded as a sort of pioneer of African desert blues, and he's considered one of the greatest guitarists. I think Rolling Stone had him somewhere in their top 100 guitarists of all time. So this is The Source. I think it was early 90s, 92, 93. I love the track, third track on side 1, Rookie, and the instrumental track, Cinquante Six, 56, which refers to the year I think he first came across a guitar. Fascinating character, real legend, sadly passed quite young, mid-60s, cancer I think. But before he supported many musicians in Africa, and he supported his local community. He never ever left his local community. In fact, a few years before he died, he became mayor of the village where he lived and was born. And as mayor, he funded himself sewage systems, water treatment, or a few other road repairs, all sorts of things, from his own pocket as mayor. So anyway, a true legend of African music, Ali Farka Touré, that is the source. With that album, that's a special edition album actually. I should mention, whoever produced this booklet, this is one of the, I like it when you get little extras and everything, but this is absolutely fantastic. So every song in the book, some great photographs, but every song in the book, there's a little bit of background about the song, about the context, about what it sort of is singing about or what it's relating to. And then he sings on the album in a couple of African languages, which are obviously totally alien to me, but the translations in English and in French are in this little booklet. Fantastic edition. So it's great if you want to get into them. Look out for that special edition. Okay, second one, show a 7-inch picture disc. Well, I don't collect singles, but I have a couple of boxfuls of them, and there's loads of them are picture sleeves. And but I picked one of my favourite bands. This is Lindisfarne, Meet Me on the Corner, early 70s, wasn't it? 71, I think, with a picture of the band in bed with a couple of cuddly toys. Yeah, just a great sort of fun time, good time picture. So that's Lindisfarne, Meet Me on the Corner. Next to it actually was another Lindisfarne one, very different. This is Lindisfarne with Gaza, the legendary Paul Gascoigne, one of the greatest footballers, possibly the greatest English footballer of my lifetime. Him, Bobby Charlton, I don't know. Anyway, one of the best, definitely. So anyway, that's my 7-inch picture sleeve. Next one was sure a Beatles, an album with a Beatles cover on it. Well, I love, this is War and Eric Burden, and they do a sort of 12-minute, 15-minute or whatever it is cover on here of A Day in the Life. It's absolutely brilliant. They slow it right down. Eric Burden's great blues voice and everything. But anyway, I decided against that, and I decided to show this because I like the name of the album better, and I love this album. This is Harry Nilsson. This is Pandemonium Shadow Show from 1967. I think it was Nilsson's debut album. And there are 2 Beatles tracks on here. She's Leaving Home, which was on Sgt. Pepper's, which I think is an absolute cracking version. It's not that far from the original, and I think it's at least as good as the original. It's just a great version. And secondly, Can't Do That, which I think was a single B-side. But the brilliant thing about his version of Can't Do That is he merges it with lots of other, at least about 10 other, I think, Beatles songs. He merges them both lyrically and melodically. Great stuff from Harry Nilsson, and the Beatles actually loved this, and they sang his praises and eventually got to meet him, and I think he became quite close mates with a couple of the Beatles. So that's Harry Nilsson from 1967, Pandemonium Shadow Show. 2 Beatles covers on it. Next was show some smooth jazz. Well, I'd say a fairly limited amount of what you'd call smooth jazz. I love Herbie Mann's Glory. I love he's a jazz flautist. Beautiful stuff. But the one I'm going to show actually is Don Shirley. This is Drowning My Own Tears. Don Shirley is a pianist. He's both a classical and a jazz pianist. He started off as a classical pianist, but when he was born late 20s, so when he was coming into his prime in the 1940s, you know, his management and record companies had decided that the USA was just not ready for a black classical pianist. So he started to play more popular stuff, jazz stuff, and plays it absolutely beautifully. This is a absolutely lovely album. So Don Shirley, yeah, he's from Florida, I think, but of Jamaican descent, but fascinatingly, his life story is depicted in the film Green Book, the one where he's touring the deep south. This guy, and he hires a sort of Italian bouncer from a New York nightclub to drive him and look after him in the south. I've not seen the film actually. Hollywood films tend to not be my cup of tea, but anyway, all of that was based on Don Shirley, a fascinating life, lived to a good age as well. Brilliant. I mean, he apparently made one album where he created a symphony based on James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, and I don't want to get all intellectually snobby about that, but there's not much more, you can't get much more intellectual than that, I don't think. So anyway, that's my smooth jazz, the lovely Don Shirley, Drown in My Own Tears. And then lastly, a UHQR ultra high quality recording. So those of you who were sort of into the audiophile scene will be very familiar with these, but there are a couple of companies, American companies, Analog Productions are one of them, Mobile Fidelity are another, but there are others, Kraft and etc., that concentrate on repressing from the original analog tapes and using sort of newer recording technology to make superb pressings of older albums. And these are albums which are either prohibitively expensive to get because they're quite rare, or they weren't maybe that good quality in the first place, or whatever. So anyway, the one I'm going to show is the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced? And this is a UHQR from Analog Productions, and yeah, they come in this, I mean, these things cost over £100. I actually got this for under £100 because the cellophane was slightly torn in one corner, but other than that it was absolutely mint. They come in this sort of very stiff card jacket with a wooden spine. I mean, they do look lovely on the shelf with the spine like that. I don't know whether you can see that, but obviously if you had a lot of these things you wouldn't fit that many in because they're quite thick. I mean, this is only a single LP. So what do you get in it when you get one of these things? Well, it comes like that. You get a technical specifications manual which sort of outlines the whole process about how these things are made, which is, I don't know, it's pretty much a waste of paper for me. You get a nice booklet. It's not quite as nice as the Alifarka Tour. It's glossy, it's nicely produced with some good photos and an essay in there, so that's great, that's very good. You get the sleeve, of course. Now this is the American sleeve, and it's the American version of this album. There were two versions, one in America, one in the UK, and happily this is the American version, which has two additional tracks. They didn't include the singles Purple Haze and Hey Joe on the British version, which I used to have on vinyl, haven't now, and have on CD. So there are two extra tracks, and brilliant tracks, as I say, Purple Haze and Hey Joe on this, and it's a gatefold sleeve, and it's in a really nicely produced thick cover. So you get that, then you get a sort of an introduction to the team and some certificates, which again, neither here nor there for me. And then you get the actual record. Well, it's pressed on what they call Clarity vinyl, which is, I don't know, vinyl I think would be that colour if they didn't add the black bits to it. And this is apparently as good as it can get in terms of pure vinyl for records. And obviously the aim is for the thing to sound absolutely fantastic. So for over £100 then, how much better is this, the UHQR, than the CD that you can pick up in a second-hand shop probably for a couple of quid? or a repressed version of this, or a not first pressing version, which you can probably get for 20 odd quid. How much better is the UHQR any better? Well, I've just played them again just to confirm in my own mind, and yeah, it is significantly better. So, you know, that would have cost a tenner new. That's maybe 120. Is it 12 times better? Well, no, of course it's not. But you get very small marginal increases. So it's the same with hi-fi gear, I suppose. For every £1,000 you might spend on upgrading your hi-fi, you're going to get a point something percent improvement in sound. And but it's lovely to listen to. I'm really glad I got it. I couldn't spend 80, 90 quid on every LP I've got. It would be impossible for me. But I'm pleased with this. It sounds absolutely fantastic, and it's just a nice thing to have. So that's my UHQR. So that's my entry, Chris from Rekkid Talk. Thanks for setting up the contest, and I've got another one in my sights for later in the week possibly. Cheers, ta-da.